A very good afternoon and welcome to Travel Indaba 2019. My name is Phemelo Motene. This is the first year. This is the very first day, and years in, this is the biggest travel show in the continent. Almost 2,000 exhibitors and many others who are here to elaborate on this event as media. Many of us are here from across the world, and we are joined in my panel here is somebody from the ICC, Gugu Sisalana, who is a corporate affairs from ICC, and I've also got Darryl, Erasmus, the quality assurance at SA Tourism. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What an event you've pulled through, and once again, everybody's here. Do you get surprised, Gugu?
Oh no, never. I mean, the ICC is always a buzz. And I mean, the Durban ICC is a catalyst for economic growth and development for the city. So when such mega events come to our city, it's a showcase of our city, Durban, a showcase of our province, KwaZulu-Natal, and South Africa as a whole. Because when delegates come to experience the buzz, the hospitality, and the liveliness of our city, they want to come back with their families, you know, and it brings business for our hotels, it brings business for our restaurants, and also for the little SMMEs that work in and around the center.
Darryl, you're part of SA Tourism, and SA Tourism owns this property, right? So it's been how many years now?
Wow, that's a tough question. We've been doing Indaba for a number of years. It's like 35 or 40 years, so it's been, it's been a very long time. We rebranded it a couple of years ago from Indaba, which it was previously known, to Africa's Travel Indaba. The reason behind it was we wanted to make this truly the biggest leisure tourism platform on the continent. And when you get to walk the floor later, you will see why, as Gugu says, this is a mega event. This is the single biggest platform that South African tourism creates. We obviously participate in many around the globe, but this one we own. We own Meetings Africa, which happens in Johannesburg also every year, but that's more focused on the business event side, incentives and so on. This is more leisure focused. But we come back to Durban, we have an arrangement and we have an agreement with the relevant bid parties here, Tourism KZN, Durban ICC, Durban Tourism, and we'll be using this venue for the next 4 years. This is our second year in a 5-year contract with them, but it's always good to be back in Durban. You know, there's a very specific vibe to Durban. I had to nip out last night very late to go and enjoy a curry because I can't come to Durban without a curry. So yeah, I got to bed way too late, but that's the nature of what we do during a platform like this.
It is a huge thing because it is the biggest in the continent. So without fail, you're doing something right. And what I've noticed as well is that in as much as you've been doing this for many years, Darryl, the standards have not dropped. But the country's changing. Our offering is changing. It's harder to sell South Africa. And I'm not seeing the numbers dwindle. So does it mean, in a funny kind of way, that we need to start believing in our own stories because the world sort of believes in us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the theme for this year is Africa's, Africa's stories. We've got to own them. We've got to, as a continent, begin to drive the narrative around Africa, and obviously as a tourism destination. As you said, we have many forces around us, many things happening around us, but this show, and I think the passion and the vibe that the tourism industry exudes is so evident here. We have almost, as you said, almost 2,000 buyers from across the world that have chosen to come here, and they've chosen to come here because they want to engage with African product, and they want to engage with African experiences, and what better place to do it than under one roof here at the Durban ICC for a couple of days.
It's a huge event, and I imagine that of course you've got experience in this kind of thing, but Gugu, every time I come here, I'm never disappointed. Everybody kind of just knows how this thing flows. And I want to know to what extent this collaboration, to what extent do you guys engage? Because I know when I land at the airport, every time I come to the Travel Indaba, I feel like I'm at the Travel Indaba from the airport, So there's a massive collaboration. There's a beautiful, I suppose, symphony of you people's partnership. How does it begin? When does it begin? When do you start talking?
Yeah.
Okay, just to answer that, the Durban ICC has been hosting the Africa's Travel Indaba for over 2 decades. So we have immense experience in running, an event of this nature. But also just to add, the Durban ICC was the first ever purpose-built ICC in South Africa. It was opened by Nelson Mandela in 1997, and we've been operating for 21 years. So we have huge experience. But we can't do it alone as a Durban ICC. We rely on our stakeholders, our partners, such as SA Tourism, KZN Tourism, and the municipality as a whole, to ensure that when we do bring an event of this nature, our infrastructure is in order, our transport system is working. Hence why when you walk in from the airport, you can feel the energy, And planning for an event of this nature begins when breakdown for this Indaba starts. We plan immediately for next year. Not a single day goes by, and when it comes together, it's such a surreal experience. When you live in the moment and the hard work, the sweat, the sleepless nights, it's all worth it in the end.
I mean, it's wonderful to see what we see on the floor, right? So you see exhibitors who bring out their best, who come here with the most prettiest of offerings and so on. But Darryl, your job as quality assurance is to meet these expectations that people bring to the table on the floor here.
Yeah. So speaking specifically as the destination marketing organization, South African Tourism, for our country, we obviously have country offices and we have representation across the globe, and we use these different platforms to engage with trade and to engage with consumers in those parts of the world to eventually get them to South Africa, the actual consumer to South Africa. During this process, we make specific promises to them. And what we do as a business within South African tourism is work with the tourism fraternity and the trade in South Africa to make sure that we have a grading system and a quality assurance system in place that allows them to deliver on those expectations. We get a lot of repeat visitation in South Africa. People who come here absolutely fall in love with it and talk about it and come back. And I think that is testament to the amazing work that the trade do in delivering on those experiences and delivering on the promises that we make as a destination when we market this wonderful country.
Because I was going to ask, with the good work that Gugu does with her team, as I said, when you arrive here, it looks beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying that the experience of the people is still met on the ground.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
the feedback you're getting.
Absolutely.
Look, when you have that conversation with the trade, with people who come and experience it, of course we also know that there are difficulties, right? There are difficulties on the ground as well. These are small businesses primarily. These are businesses which are also struggling. We've got power cuts and so on, and stuff that is completely out of your control in many instances. To what extent are you able to meet their needs as the tourism sector and their real needs of also delivering the services and the promises that we've made?
Yeah. I think a good illustration of that is we have recently, with the approval of our Minister Hanekom, released new grading standards into South Africa. One of those grading standards, for argument's sake, is the provision of electrical or lighting supply in the rooms that are not connected to the municipal service. And the reason we put that in place is and in South Africa we have experienced things like energy interruptions, water interruptions. We need to, at every opportunity, make sure that the international guest or the domestic guest who is staying in that room is as affected as little as possible, and as a result we've amended our grading standards accordingly. So our grading standards, whilst being internationally benchmarked and relevant to South Africa, they have to be appropriate, and they have to take into consideration both the things that are happening in our environment but also the challenges that we experience.
But Darryl and we both of us could agree that we've done a stellar job in managing our water crisis, for instance, in Cape Town. So we had a crisis, but as a country, we came out tops.
Yeah.
We're not boasting about that. Why are we not doing that?
I think it's still coming. And I think what Cape Town has done through the water crisis is position itself as a thought leader on the globe in terms of how to handle these kind of crises. I think the most important thing to say is Cape Town has water. So if there's any doubt as to whether there is water, it definitely has water, and everybody is welcome in Cape Town. What we have done as a collective, as an industry, is said we need to be more responsible. We need to try and minimize the impact that tourism has on the environment, and we have got many different programs within our business, and I'm sure within the trade, that people are activating and participating in to try and eliminate that, because we understand that tourism and the environment are completely interrelated. So many of the reasons why people come to South Africa is because of our fantastic and beautiful scenery, our magnificent beaches, and that is part of protecting the environment. So responsible tourism, being part of making sure that what we have is going to be sustainable and exist for the long term.
But to what extent have we diversified our offering? Everybody talks about the big five. Everybody talks about our scenery.
Yeah.
Is that sustainable?
we at South African Tourism position South Africa using a number of different pillars. The arts and culture experience in South Africa speaks to our authenticity as a destination. The food, the music, look, the beaches are phenomenal, the safari experiences are phenomenal, but it's a more holistic approach. And I think what we are finding more of is the international fraternity are looking to come to destinations, and in this particular case South Africa, where they can be immersed in the culture and the overall experience and leave as a changed individual. And that's something we focused on, and that's something that we're delivering on the floor today.
So you hear what Darryl says. He sells people these big dreams, and you've got to deliver on those big dreams as a center like this. But to what extent do you need to keep up with what it is that he's promising? So I want a world-class event management system going on when I arrive here. I want a facility that will give me all the sophistication in the world. How difficult are his demands?
Just to touch on what Darryl mentioned earlier, I mean, there is huge history. So it's not just about our scenery, as you may know. I mean, this ICC on its own was built on a former prison site. So that on its own, you know, is history that people don't really know. It's now a place where ideas flourish, where people engage. And when you think about a prison, you think about incarceration, people that are, you know, that are in chains. But here, there's freedom of speech. You know, people engage and find solutions for all the challenges that we face as a country. Just today, we unveiled earlier a mural, an art mural, you know, at the Durban ICC. Because we embrace our cultural diversity and our heritage. And we want delegates that come to our city and to the Durban ICC to actually witness that, experience that, and be part of that culture that Darryl and his team go and tell the world about. But at the ICC as well, we also have our own quality assurance systems, because we want to ensure that every single guest that walks into our center feels homely. You know, they feel that hospitality that the Durban ICC offers, as well as what SA Tourism also preaches out there. We live that gospel, you know, that they preach out there.
And as Gugu said, I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's actually not even about the facility. It's the offering that we as a community give.
Yeah.
So it's a service. It is a smile.
Yeah.
It is how you feel when you enter the space, correct?
Yes.
One of the things South African Tourism launched back in 2017 is a movement. The movement we called We Do Tourism. And it's a movement that is not owned by South African Tourism, it's owned by South Africa. And it is built on the premise that we want to get 57 million South Africans behind tourism. We want people to recognize that a tourist in your community is bringing international investment, is bringing foreign direct investment, is spending in your community, is uplifting your community. Recognize that, embrace them and welcome them into the communities and share what they're looking for, and that's the immersive experience. So the We Do Tourism movement is something we're going to amplify even more this year, but it's all about people really engaging in tourism and using tourism to uplift communities across South Africa and drive economic development.
So when I'm in this vicinity, I get that sense. I get the sense that somehow everybody's working for this particular travel Indaba. I don't know how. I don't know how the guy at the street understands that this is part of his job, to welcome all of us here. What did it take to get such buy-in from just your local businesses and everybody else around?
You know, the city did a great campaign of ensuring that residents that live in Durban become brand ambassadors for the city of Durban, because they understand the impact that such events have on the global, on the global space, as well as on the economy, because not just here in Durban, but also in South Africa as a whole. Because our contribution to the GDP as a center, for example, is 4.6 billion in the past fiscal, which obviously has an impact, on the ordinary man on the street. So if they live the spirit, if they make sure that our delegates that walk into our center and come to our city feel safe and feel welcomed, they know that it has an impact, because it also, it's into their pockets as well. Because if there's issues of crime and grime and all those, it has an impact, on how the world views our city and our country as a whole.
Darryl, you guys do a lot of stats and you analyze a lot.
Yeah.
Where could we do better? Just as an individual, not with a big budget, not with a mandate, not with policy. As an individual, as a South African, how can I add value to what this country has to offer?
It's actually really simple. So one of the things we track in our departure survey, which is a survey that we do with people who have visited South Africa and have left, one of the things we ask is, how did you find the people in South Africa? And we track very carefully the statistic around the warm and welcoming nature of our people. In previous years, we have declined. I can say that in 2018 we improved in terms of our score, but our goal is to improve that even more.
Really?
Indeed. One of the things we're known for is a welcoming people.
Yes.
Look, there are many other factors I'm sure that affected, and I'm sure the sampling would affect it as well. But one of the biggest drives for us this year is to work closely with trade, but also work closely with other communities to say, how do we go about creating a more welcoming environment and training people on the benefits of tourism, because as soon as they're involved, they will help uplift it. And something as small as a welcome and something as small as a smile can go a long way in improving and uplifting South Africa's reputation as a warm and welcoming destination when we compete globally with so many others.
So why do they say they come back? You said that there's a fantastic there's stats out there of return business.
Yes.
People come back to South Africa.
Yeah.
Once they've been here, they can't believe what they've just experienced. They want to come back.
Yeah.
Why do they want to come back?
I think there's just so much to see. South Africa has got iconic places scattered around all 9 provinces. And typically on your first visit to South Africa, you maybe get to Cape Town, you maybe get to the Kruger, and maybe 1 or 2 other places in between. They have yet to explore the beautiful province of KZN. They have yet to explore the Free State. They have yet to explore the wild coast in the Eastern Cape. They haven't been to see the wonderful flowers at a specific time of the year in the Northern Cape. Maybe they haven't been up to Limpopo. The Limpopo have got some phenomenal developments in the tourism space. Mpumalanga, God's Window, the new lift at Graskop. There are so many things to do across the country, and by coming here for a 7 or 8 or a 10-day trip as your first experience, they realize that there's just so much more to see. And I think also leaving South Africa, they realize what a wonderful people we are, how welcoming we are, how safe we are. I think it's important. The people who come back are coming back because they felt safe, they felt welcomed, and they really want to come back to experience more of the province. So they get to, spread that love across all of the provinces, as opposed to the big attractions, which usually are first on the bucket list when they come to the country.
Now, I know that as especially you in quality assurance at SA Tourism, you guys are fantastic with managing hotels and grading those, and I think people are coming to the party, even the small B&Bs.
Yeah.
But why have we left out the museums? Our heritage sites are not graded, or are they going to be graded anytime soon?
So for the moment, we have a specific focus on lodging and accommodation, and we also grade venues such as this one. I'm pleased to say the Durban ICC holds a 5-star grading from the Tourism Grading Council. We would love to move into the experiential side of things, and I think it's something we intend to do in the very near future. We need to begin to focus on the public spaces. One thing we really want to focus on too is making sure that South Africa as a destination is accessible for people with disabilities. The number of people traveling globally who have disabilities, whether they be visual, audio impairments, mobility impairments, is an enormous market. And as a destination, we need to take cognizance of it and begin to adapt our product so that we are accommodating these people with disabilities. And this would speak to things like museums, attractions, experiences, and obviously the accommodation as well. So we do a lot of work, as I said, in the hospitality space, but the intention is very much to move into the rest of the value chain and begin to assist them in uplifting and upholding specific standards.
It is still the first day, lots still to happen, and when you listen to the exhibitors on the ground, for instance, what are they looking forward to the most? I mean, I'm surprised at the numbers that keep rising every single year.
Yeah.
There must be something here. There must be something that they're getting. The minister said earlier, clinch those deals, meet people, make sure that you solidify those relationships. When they talk to you, Gugu, what do they say they get the most out of this particular Indaba?
I mean, having a platform such as the Indaba is huge because you have all the exhibitors, representing the various tourism products, all under one roof. I mean, just think about it. As a business person, would you be able to travel the entire country in 1 day or in 3 days?
Absolutely not.
In 3 days?
Yes.
But with Indaba, you have the exposure, of all of those products, so that it brings benefit for your business. It then grows the economy as a country as well. We have 112,000 square meters covered of exhibition space. It's the Durban ICC. We've closed up Walnut Road, where it's also luxury safaris that have set up tents there, and they big mobile vehicles that go deep into the safaris. Across the DEC as well, it's also huge exhibition stands. So it's a humongous experience for someone who's here and who means business.
It's always lovely, and we do this very well, right? We talk a lot in this country. We talk a lot. Is there a return on investment when coming to this convention?
Absolutely. And the reason I say absolutely is because we are so strict about the type and the quality of buyer that South African tourism brings to this show. We make sure that these people are people who are doing business and are able to do business, so that the individuals and the exhibitors that they encounter on the floor, they can actually clinch those deals. South African tourism, to my recollection, is busy with a study at the moment to understand the actual impact and the actual number and value of deals that happen on these floors. But it's phenomenal. If you have a look at the number of meetings this year, the number of meetings that we had last year has more than doubled on the floor. We have, as you said, almost 1,900 buyers that have come from across the world to come and engage with product here. And I think what they look forward to most as a sector is we're very much like a family. So this is almost like a big family reunion. But at the same time, we're bringing these new exhibitors, we're bringing the new buyers into the mix, and people are eager to do business with them and eager to grow both commercially here, but also obviously deliver on what we are promising as Destination South Africa.
Gugu, Sisalana, thank you so much for putting up with us all who've been nagging you day in, day out to finally get this together. Congratulations once more time. And, I must say, Darryl, I don't know what to say to you, because I think everything is now weighing on you as SA Tourism. Yeah. We're all here because of you. All the best for the rest of the coming days.
Thank you. We love it when a plan comes together, right?
Thank you.
Do join us again later on today at 7:02 on Facebook. And also, please remember to hashtag Indaba19. That is the hashtag on Twitter. And we'll keep you posted. We are at the Travel Indaba 2019.